Start.
Good morning, friends. Once again, I will be explaining, as we had yesterday explained about the making of the All India Cantonment Bungalow cum Resident Owners Association, why and what is the need of an association. This would be explained by the various happenings during the British regime. I will share that the British during its regime were very democratic, and they in 1919 asked for a making of an association which was held at Ambala under the chairmanship of Mr. Diwan Lakshmi Narayan from Kamti, and in January 1919 it gave birth to All India Cantonment Association. This new association was asked to submit a memorandum of reforms of Government of India and to the Commander-in-Chief in regard to the making of the Cantonment Act 1924. This representation was on popular demand of the population of these cantonments, when a departmental committee was formed by the British regime in October 1920, which submitted its report in December 1920. On their recommendation, a regular cantonment reforms committee was constituted, in which 4 British officers were appointed and an equal strength of 4 representatives from the nominees of this All India Cantonment Association were nominated. This clearly shows that during the British regime, an equal right was given to the hearing on the making of the Cantonment Act 1924. This is what I would be explaining and giving facts, that what transpired from 1919 to date. This committee, which was formed, gave its report in October 1921, and on which basis or recommendation there was a huge amendment in the Cantonment House Accommodation Act, which was made in 1902, but was later amended in 1923 as Act 4. This act more or less codified what the Governor General orders, regulations were speaking, but its main dealing with the preemptive rights of the army to take over private houses by right for accommodating their officers, but provided for a more human approach towards the taking of these houses. The cantonment native or the citizen, while approaching for his rental of the house, was given a complete hearing towards the valuation of his rental and the valuation towards the purchase of his bungalow. The point of ownership in the Cantonment House Accommodation Bill 1889 was deliberately left, as there could not have been an achievement in making this act, as there was various discrepancies to the point whether these lands or these houses were the ownerships of the government or the British government, or of the natives, or of the occupant, who could be a British officer either. This was all done at the backdrop of the 1924 Cantonment Act. During this period in 1915, after various select committees and the All India Cantonment Association gave some suggestions. The very basic 2 suggestions which the association came forward with was the delimitation or the removal of the Sadar Bazaar area of the cantonment from the cantonment boundary pillars, and secondly, a complete municipalization to be undertaken within the cantonment committee of this area. These two basic interests were forwarded, and I would subjectively speak on what, as 1, 2, 3, the association put forward. The association very clearly said that the rights in the land, whether it was owned by the army or by anybody else, will remain garnering the income from these lands if they were transferred or if municipalization was done. And this amount of fund which would have been generated from these lands after accession, the fund could have been reimbursed to the military, that is the British Army. The portion which was in Bazaar area in 1909-15, it is very important to understand that the civil area was notified way ahead in 1937 under the Cantonment Land Administration Rule. So which was this civil area in 1915? Even that was subjective, that it will be having elected members for the first time, and the nominated members will reduce to 37% of the total representation, with the station commander being the head of the cantonment. Its third recommendation was that the cantonment magistrate, which had dual powers of judicial cum executive, be removed from it. It even suggested that the cantonment code of 1912 merged with cantonment code of 1889 be abolished and merged within the Cantonment Act, which was incoming in 1924. The Cantonment House Accommodation Act should be made applicable on a 101 basis to the bungalows or properties, and it should be subjected to the Act 1923, and after this subjection, the regulations imposed under the Governor General order should be released from the respective bungalow, and they should be of no force. The association even made a brief in writing of the various changes in 1910 Act to the making of 1924 Act, and even suggested that any act or notification, if passed under the Gazette notification, it should not become a force for next 3 months unless the residents of the cantonment are able to read it, understand it, and file their objections. Major Novel, who had given his report in a form of a dissent note, which the All India Association agreed that the cantonment magistrates' dual powers of holding the judicial and executive should be removed. Major Nevilis even cited and dissented the note which the association also rose, that the civil area of the cantonment should be left out from the cantonment boundary pillars, and if there was a requirement of more space or area for the barracks of the army, land could be acquired under the Land Acquisition Act, and the cantonment boundary pillars could be extended towards that side. The association even harshly and extensively opposed the criminalization under this act, where the cantonment secretary or the cantonment magistrate had the powers to expel any person from the cantonment which he found was right. I will quote that there was a case in Firozpur cantonment where Mr. Jalaluddin was expelled by the cantonment magistrate on the only reason that he had opposed the scavenging tax which was being imposed in Firozpur cantonment. Most of the cantonments and residents all over India were feeling the fear of slavery in these cantonments, and the association upholded that if there had to be a cordial relation between the administration and the residents of these cantonments, which were natives, we will have to remove such decorion or such criminal acts in the Cantonment Act 1924. The association even said that even if these sections were removed, even after that, the 1809 Regulation 3 was still imposable within these cantonment boundary pillars. Mr. Cracks, who was the committee chairman, even stated that Section 23 of the House Accommodation Act had quite a lot of represented on criminalization and expulsion of residents if required. The association pointedly, subjectively put forward its report, and this is what Mr. Das today is stressing, that before independence, the association, whether it was an all India association or whether it was on the local level, they were given representations within the cantonments by the cantonment magistrates then. But what really happened after independence? Why were associations not taken on board? And why the present government of India, whether in 1947, 70s, 80s or today's, does not take or does not ask for a representation in equal from these associations? There were many such committees which were made after independence. I shall brief some of them which gave a lot of recommendations, but till date not much has happened on these recommendations. I would like to quote a committee which was formed under the chairmanship of Mr. Balwant Rai Mehta, and it submitted its report to the Parliament on 11th July 1958. The committee states that all decisions of major policies relating to the defense of India were taken by the Whitehall in United Kingdoms, and the government of India had only to implement them. The defense setup of the government of India was therefore designed to suit the British government. We can very well understand by this very opening statement of this committee that how these cantonments and how these laws were being implemented. Further, the same committee had said that due to happening of wars in July 1942, the Defense Department was bifurcated into a War Department and a Defense Department. The War Department remained with the war members, and the Defense Department was placed under the civilian defense members. What would this mean to today's people or today's residents or inhabitants of these 62 cantonments, numbering to about 21 lakh people? Till 15th August 1947, the defense expenditure was not vetted. The position changed after independence, and the defense minister became responsible to Parliament for every matter pertaining to the defense services. In addition to the control of the three services headquarters, the Defense Ministry became responsible for the administration of all inter-alia services in the Ministry of Defense, out of which one was the land hiring and disposal services, the military lands and cantonment services became answerable to the Parliament of India. It gave two recommendations in their column D and F. Formation of cantonments, delimitation, accession of cantonment areas, the constitution of powers within such areas of cantonment boards, and the regulation of house accommodation, including the control of rents in such areas. B. Acquisition or requisition of properties for defence services and eviction only of unauthorized occupants within the defence accommodation under the Government Premises Eviction Act 1950. So these were the basic agendas at that time in 1958 which the Balwant Rai Mehta committee felt. I must quote that on 25th March 1955, the Prime Minister then stated in the Lok Sabha, which I will read word by word, in some countries where they not got these commanders-in-chief in this manner, in fact, in most democratic countries, they have some kind of defense councils. In England, for instance, there is this Army Council, there is the Air Council and the Board of Admiralty, which performs the functions of the Commander-in-Chiefs in India. No doubt, it may be desirable for us also to form these councils. We shall look into this matter. We cannot, of course, have a council suddenly. A council represents a great deal of experience and accumulated knowledge of our senior officers. But we are going into this matter and hope gradually to develop these councils for each of the services. Quote unquote. The Prime Minister also felt that the need in 1955 of Commander-in-Chief, which were inherited from the British Army, was not required, and we in these cantonments could have had more of defense councils which could work in tandem. There was another committee formed under the chairmanship of Shri H.C. Dasappa, who gave its report on 12th May 1961. This committee clearly stated on cantonment lands. They too even recommended in their report, I would quote para 95, that pending finalization of action regarding ultimate abolition of cantonments, the Cantonment Act should be suitably amended immediately to provide for the democratization of civic administration in these cantonment areas. So the core of the finding, even in 1961, was to democratize these cantonments or even abolish these cantonments. There was an estimate committee on Parliament which was formed in 1956-57 under the chairmanship of Shri Balwant Rai Mehta, which made radical recommendations that the local self-government should strictly come under the state administration as the subject falls under list 2 of the 7th schedule to the Constitution of India, and the army should be given representation or right to have a say on any decision of the local authority which goes against the health, welfare, discipline or security or sanitization of the troops. The civic immunities for the troops within the military area can continue to be with the defense authorities, and the cantonment will regain its original connotation of a place where troops are quartered. The committee recommended abolition of cantonments as commonly understood. At present, and practical steps should be taken in consultation with the state governments so as to reach to a minimum possible solution within time. It even recommended that these cantonments can be purely converted into military stations if the army wants. This is why the state of affair in these cantonments is not congenial as on date, because neither the army, neither the civil administration As a follow-up of the resolution of Conference of Local Self-Government, the ministers held in August 1948, that the government then constituted a central committee on cantonments to examine fresh delimitations of cantonment areas and the desirability to amend the Cantonment Act 1924. This committee was headed by Shri S.K. Patil as chairman and was packed with official members. I would quote again that it only had official members. There was no representation from these 62 cantonments of either the members or the local inhabitants, residents, owners, occupiers. It was nil. The purpose of this S.K. Patil committee was on a purely recommendation for accession of civil areas of these cantonments. Now it is to be understood that by 1937 Cantonment Land Administration rules, the civil area was designated under a rule and was notified for all these cantonments. 57 cantonments in total, as 6 cantonments came up after independence. You will be surprised that the recommendations given by this committee named 6 cantonments: Agra, Ahmednagar, Allahabad, Varanasi, Delhi, Jhansi, to be partly cut out from the civil area. But as popular sentiment at that time was on a resentment of accession in respect to various cantonments like Ambala, Kirki, Pune, and it was dropped then. There was no delimitation thereafter, except you will be surprised that in Ambala in 1977, there was accession of the civil area to Sadar Municipality, Ambala. Kasol Cantonment had a similar accession in 1986. Friends, I will not hesitate to quote that I am the son of the same Mr. S.S. Das, who was very instrumental in 1977 as being the Vice President of the Cantonment Board, who played a pivotal and a vital role in excising this Ambala civil area with the late Shri Bansi Lal, the Defence Minister of India, who was a good friend of him and who understood what delimitation within the cantonment was. A committee had already submitted a report called Sir Dave's report, which had given recommendation of accession, which I just mentioned in my earlier statement. On that report, by not wasting much time, a notification was done in 1977 from either sides, the Ministry of Defence and the Haryana government, and civil area of Ambala cantonment was excised. There must have been many such parliamentary committees. I have just quoted the initial parliamentary committees. There must have happened various committees after 61 also. Select committees, finance committees. There have been so many committees which have been formed. There was a committee which was formed under the chairmanship of Shri Murli Manohar Joshi. Raj Babbar, who was the chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee, also formed a committee. But these reports were always left to the dust. In the recent times, I would talk of, there was another committee which came formed. This time it was called the S.K. Bose Committee, which met in February 2019. This committee had 3 basic agendas. It was studying the existing Cantonment Act and to make specific recommendation for suitable amending the Act to impart modernization and democratization of the governance structure of the Cantonment Board. 2. To make specific recommendation in connection with the building bylaws in cantonments to align with the best practices of the vicinity municipalities. The third point it came up with is the recommendation on procedural modalities for transfer and mutation of properties, including old grant bungalows, freehold rights and leasehold properties, including their renewals or extensions. This committee gave some recommendations which I would like to read to my fellow friends who are listening to me. It stated that after the World War of 1914-1919 was over, the pressure of growing national forces resulted in passing of the Government of India Act 1919. On the lines of the Chelmsford reforms scheme, where the local self-government in a province were given more powers by the elected members of the province, by the British India government. But to the surprise, this did not happen within the cantonments. The local self-government, under the guise of the constitution then, and the powers within the cantonment authorities of regulating houses for accommodation of officers and delimitations of such areas which the cantonment was not requiring anymore, still remained a subject with the central government of the British India. The British never let pass onto this to the local government then either. Friends, the cantonment boards are statutory deemed municipalities under clause E of Article 243P of the Constitution, as provided in section 10 of the Cantonment Act 2006 after independence. What I am trying to state that likewise the British, who called for association officially and took their representation, why after independence the various committees which were made under the guise to give reports to the Parliament, called the standing committees, have never ever promoted the need for an association. Instead have promoted, the principle which the Britishers ruled, divide and rule. They call for representations from various stakeholders. Imagine 21 lakh residents are submitting representations. Who will read them? Who will scrutinize them? No one. Nothing will go on board. It will be a sham. It will be an eyewash. We people will be fooled, hijacked by a thought that we have given our representation and we are under a democracy. Instead, within these cantonments, we are not under a democracy. We are subjected to rules which are imposed on us without even consenting us, without even discussing with us. This is what I am trying to say. I am trying that likewise the British at least let the present regime of the Government of India after independence get an association on board to discuss these matters. After independence, the various committees or Parliament standing committees have never promoted anything like this. They call for representatives from various stakeholders. With 21 lakh inhabitants, in these 56 inherited and 6 cantonments which came after independence, we are actually playing an hide and seek with the system or with these people or with the committees. Let's not make a joke for ourselves. Let's not be joked around. Let's not be fooled around. We Indians can stand up. We can put in our representations and ask for a 101 meetings in these cantonments. That is why I took this initiative of going live to all these facts, that where in the 21st century we are living. This is the world of internet, the world of technology, where nothing is non-accessible. So we as a government should promote more of democratization. Friends, you will be surprised. There are about 2,955 old grant bungalows or OGBs in these cantonments which are outside the civil area of the cantonments. 583 of them have already been resumed, which I am one of them. I feel so. Whether I am numbered in the 583 or not, I don't know, but I should be. Further on, you will be surprised that the Ministry of Defence had formulated a resumption policy which was having a lot of ABCDs, which I'll be discussing in my coming reports. 92 bungalows were recommended by the Ministry of Defence to be resumed in the last 5-7 years. Only 64 bungalows have been issued resumption notice by the present DG Land Office or the IDS team which governs these cantonments now. Why out of 92 only 64 have been given? This reflects how the system works. That is why I've been saying we must form associations at every cantonment. I had been pursuing this during my tours in 2009. I am again today saying we should have local chapters, we should have a national association at a national level, and this should take forward our doings to the committees or to the Director General Lands or to the Raksha Mantri or to the Ministry of Defence. I am very happy that the present regime government at least formulated a committee on some agenda and it gave its report, which is still pending, maybe due to the lockdown, and we expect a very sanguine approach by our Raksha Mantri for now. I would go on to state that association president or secretary should be nominated members of the board of the local chapter so that their regular involvement in the board's doings and the development of the cantonment is there. All India Association should be given recognition and it should be promoted by the Director General Lands and the Ministry of Defence, and they should be called for all major policy decisions. Similarly, I will not hesitate in sharing that after the military had taken my bungalow, during that period of trauma, mental stress, I was asked for the then DG Lands to make a presentation of my research in the Director General's office in Delhi, which we agreed upon, and we made a digital presentation starting from 1765 to various plans, GLRs, House Accommodation Act registers, and you'll be surprised. A verbal commendation was given to Mr. Das that this research, even if the department would have taken, it would not have reached to this logical and this exhibited documents which you are showing. A request was made by the Director General Lands Department that the entire research material should be given a copy of, which was made a decision within the association then, and a photocopy of every document was given to the Director General Lands on a minimal cost of photostat. I'm sorry, with a joke, this payment of photostat is also pending towards the Director General Lands office, which was a meager amount. So friends, we must rise above all this. I am asking for all this, which I feel pained that what went with me in 2003. After 2012, after creating this association, assimilating these cantonments, bringing them on table, getting them all together on internet or various platforms, I was stunned that this association was broken in 2015 and we split it. There were minds which were wanting a different way or a path. I today also say every association means something. Even if we split, doesn't make a difference. Our fight, our goal remains same. I remember a meeting when in 2012 happened in the Quartermaster Journal or the Parliament House, where Pallam Raju, the Director General Defence Representative, and the Quartermaster General India were sitting. On a normal out-of-track chat, the Quartermaster General India very clearly stated to Mr. Das that by 2040 we will resume the entire 2,955 bungalows, Mr. Das. We will not let anybody stay. We are on a psychological war game with you people. We will identify bungalows stepwise. The first step will be those bungalows which are dilapidated. Then we will take those which are in possession of the Ministry of Defence. Then we will target those bungalows which are under dispute within the family or with illegal occupants who have purchased these bungalows. Then the last would be the leftovers. This is a wake-up call, friends. We all need this association. We all need this platform. Let us get our heads together. Ask our local presidents if the associations are there. Let us talk to each other and make this a more vibrant association. I would only ask my fellow friends who have created various associations after 2012, please, there was just a small statement given by a very senior member, Mr. Zaki from Barakpur, that we all must assimilate, because broken, we are divided. We are an easy target. I had talked to Mr. Surana. I am in touch with Mr. Anil Bakshi, who has floated a law firm. I don't understand. He himself is facing, like me, a resumption notice. How people can do this? This subject of old grant, whether these lands were belonging to us, whether as a vacuum property these properties were sold along with land, is a very subjective matter, not proved in the honorable courts. 99.9% of the cases which have been fought, we have lost. I would only state that please, all my friends who are working hard towards it, the present regime of the association, there is some Mr. I was told from Pune Cantonment or Kirki, who is Mr. I'm forgetting his name, who's been an activist and has been doing a lot on media. I am again telling people, media is not a solution to these cantonments, because media will only make it a story which is only for TRP. In the end, it is the judiciary, it is the government, it is the Ministry of Defence which has to understand what we are looking for. Why are we giving this to the people of these 62 cantonments? What rights do these 21 lakh residents want? Friends, I am grateful to you people who are listening to me. I have talked of facts. Everything is documented with us. Nothing what I am speaking is out of records or from my fancy world. I once again request all of you who listen to me to ask your neighbor to join this channel. Make it a success. Let the system understand that we can fight this battle, provided you support us. Thank you. Good day.